Hello, everybody. Tim Hughes here, CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Ryan Hamze, and Ryan and I are going to be talking about dark factories and the future of manufacturing. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. I've been really looking forward to this because I know nothing about dark factories, and I've been saying to lots of people, I'm going to be talking about dark factories, and we've all been saying, "Wow, what does that mean?" So I'm going to find out. So, Ryan, where can people find you?
Well, good morning and thank you for having me. I am, everywhere, but you can start with LinkedIn. It's a perfect way to communicate with me. Connect with me there and happy to start any conversation around this topic.
Okay, but so let's start. For those that don't know, what is a dark factory and how does it differ from traditional automated manufacturing?
A dark factory, the definition of it is a fully autonomous, lights-off manufacturing facility. That sounds like a mouthful. So think of it as a factory with no humans on site, and it's fully controlled by robots and AI.
Right. Because I've seen a number of things on the news where here we are talking on the 25th of September 2025, and we have a new president in the US, and what he's doing is he's pulling manufacturing back. And a lot of people have been saying to me, yeah, but that actually isn't going to create jobs, because what they're going to do is the factories that will be in the US will be dark factories. Is that what you're seeing, or?
No, not really. The technologies of having a fully automated factory is just not quite here yet. We do
Okay.
have pockets of innovation where you have partial dark factories or dim factories that kind of run portions of their assembly or portions of their welding that are kind of autonomous. But we still really need humans in the loop right now. You can't fully replace most of the things that we're doing here today. So even if we are expanding manufacturing by 30%, we're still going to need a lot of people on site.
Right.
Yes, to cut costs, a lot of automation is necessary. And yes, there are more robotics in use, but there's also the rise of cobots, which is basically robots that are basically they're basically a human augmentation robotic augmentation for humans.
Okay. Yeah. And what are the primary drivers pushing businesses towards dark factories? Is it cost efficiency, resilience, or is it something else?
The number one adoption reason is always cost. That's always the bottom line. There's innovation in the loop. There is making sure they can build a faster product. And by building a faster product, it's also cheaper to build, and the quality becomes higher. And then that cost is also passed on to their customers. So it's a kind of a win-win situation where the more you automate, the faster it is. So think back to 1940 when Henry Ford did his assembly line and changed the way that we do manufacturing in the world. Lots of benefits there. We were able to, jump onto a new industrial era, basically.
Yeah.
Well, same thing happening today with AI and autonomy and Industry 5.0.
So what enabling technologies like robotics, AI, Internet of Things, 5G are critical to making dark factories a reality today? Or is it all of them?
Yeah, all of them and none of them actually. So we've been looking at a history of Industry 3.0, 4.0, where you have a lot of technologies that are just connected. It's about connectivity and making sure all your devices and your humans and your processes are mapped. There's digital twins to map your entire process. You have robotics running things, and you need to control them. You have to have central dashboards. But when you look to the future and the Industry 5.0 technologies happening today, you're looking at Gen AI, you're looking at cobots, you're looking at decentralization of intelligence, and you're also making sure that you have a hybrid cloud approach. We did this full move to cloud, and now it's a hybrid approach. And then all the innovations are on Industry 4.0 when it comes to AR, VR, Meta, and digital twins, digital threads. There's a lot of new technologies out
Yeah.
there. So when you look at what do we really need to get to dark factories, you have to look at the obstacles and the adoption challenges. Right now, the availability of technology is still not quite there yet. We really need quantum computing. We need autonomous cobots. We need drones and robots that actually do maintenance of other robots. We still don't have
Okay.
that yet. So there's still a lot there's still a lot to do to get to a fully autonomous dark factory, but we are on the way.
So, in terms of the robot development, I mean, I see a lot of robot development, and a lot of it is to do with, will the robot do the washing up or empty a washing machine or something like that, which obviously is very useful for humans. What is it that we need to see from a dark factory point of view? You talk about cobots, so what do you mean?
Um, when I say cobots and availability, for example, if you have uh, let's take it back to the design and operations, and you're
Yeah,
looking at CAD modeling. You have a lot of AI that does a lot of AI that's helping engineers do their CAD modeling, and you have additive manufacturing where you have AI designing your designs that your 3D printing can actually be a component of your manufacturing process. That's stuff we're doing here today. But when you have adaptable digital inventories that are pure AI generated parts, and you don't need a human to actually generate that anymore. You can now build and engineer and innovate and refine your structure based on a customer feedback loop without needing the engineer to babysit that process. Just an example. Same with robots. Right now, you still need someone to go out and change that air filter. You still need someone to fix those hydraulics. And even if you have an automotive factory where you're building most of your chassis and welding components in an assembly line full of robots, someone still needs to turn those robots off, maintain them, fix them, upgrade them, change parts. That's still a human dependent process.
right. So, which industries are currently sort of like leading the way, and certainly what regions are leading the way?
Um, well, when you think of regions, you need to start with Europe. The European Commission's Community of Practice fully adopted 5.0. They have a lot of movement in that area, a lot of research. Made in China 2025 was launched, I want to say 3-4 years ago, and they've sunk a lot of money into it. And they've moved from a normal factory that builds things into a global manufacturing powerhouse that builds things quicker, faster.
Right.
North America, we still have a lot to do when it comes to shifting most of our manufacturing environment into the new technology era, because we've been more focused on pockets of innovation and making sure that we have the stability of the manufacturing economy. So it is a growing market. We still need to fix a few things for North America, but we are moving along. We do have a lot of innovation there, and we are kind of drawing the North Star of where we need to head and what a true autonomous dark factory looks like.
So, so I mean, and what's drive? what's I understand when what's driving it, as in the saving money, but in terms of what's the if I run a factory, what's the innovation? What do I need to be thinking as a business leader to be driving that level of innovation?
Well, that's a tricky question because what I like to tell our clients is if you're a manufacturer, you should focus on building the product,
Yeah,
and you should partner up with someone who already understands the technology.
right,
Focus on someone who focuses on the IT stuff, the innovation, the quantum computing, the AI. Let them worry about the tech, and you focus on building a product. That's how you grow a partner ecosystem
mm,
where you can actually grow together and worry about the things that sets you apart. What your differentiators are in the market.
right. Constant. At the end of the day, I guess you're the people that understand the product. That's what you focus on, and let other people that know about the technology focus on the technology.
Well, it's not just us. I don't speak from a selfish perspective. Any client that's looking to grow, for example, their AI practice right now, the advice I give them is AI is a data first conversation, right?
Yeah,
If you don't have data and you don't have infrastructure and you don't have enough enterprise systems to support building accurate data within your environment, your AI projects are very likely to fail, right?
yeah,
So that's why the recommendation is always to partner up with the right people for the right strategy to build the right tools to get to where you need. It's not just about bringing in the latest and greatest to your environment. It just depends on how you need to grow as a manufacturer.
right. And what impact do you see dark factories having on jobs, the workforce, and what should businesses be doing to prepare for the shift?
So right now, all the job numbers coming out are positively trending. We have, I think, 100 million jobs lost, but we have around 180 million jobs gained in just for this year. And if you look at that breakdown, it's more labor intensive jobs have gone away, and more tech jobs have come back in. So
Right.
yes, there's less people on the shop floor or in labor intensive roles, but there's so much more to do when it comes to technology, AI, building software integration, growing that technology, right? So when you look at the biggest problem manufacturers have, it's also reskilling and upskilling their current employees and their current base. It's very hard to just say, well, you've been building cars for 30 years, go and start building me AI. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can reskill employees to become technology literate, to have access to the newest technology or things that will help their skill sets grow in today's world, and just doesn't always mean that it's a single path. So to answer the question of what should people be doing right now, it's look towards the future, look to where you should be positioning yourself and your employees, and also figure out what skills you need to learn to succeed in today's manufacturing world.
It's back to that continuous learning mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it's continuous learning. It's also trying to stay ahead of times. Back to Henry Ford's example, he brought in the assembly line, automated a lot of things. It was great for the country. It was great for the automotive industry. Had a great big boom. But there were some people that were left behind that didn't look ahead and figure out how to weather those changes. It's a tough conversation to have. There are some negative impacts that's going to come from all this automation. It will impact the job market somehow. We don't know what that looks like yet, given the political scene here, not just in the US, but globally. There are a lot of changes coming, and there are a lot of conversations happening right now on how to weather that storm.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a client who is a drones company. And if you think about it, the skills that are needed to basically fly a drone weren't around, 20 years ago. Funnily enough, that they tend to pick people from who are gamers. It's one of those things where people said, my parents said all my life that I shouldn't be a gamer, and now I've actually got a great job and a great career flying drones.
Yeah, I mean, growing up playing games, if you told me I could be a gamer growing up or a drone pilot, I would have laughed in your face. But those are jobs that exist in today's world.
Yeah.
Just like the chief AI officer, and who thought that you're going to have a seat at the table, at the CXO table, just because you're on AI and you're on that wavelength, right? So a lot of changes coming, and I don't think we've seen the tip of the iceberg yet.
Okay. And do you see any risks or with over reliance on automation in manufacturing, as in cybersecurity? So we've currently got here in the UK Jaguar Land Rover that's been hacked, and they're not doing any manufacturing at all because they've been hacked.
Yeah, when you come to risks and perspective, there's two sides of the conversation. The first side of it is you should partner with someone who understands the tech, so you don't have to worry about cyber. You have to make sure your infrastructure is all privatized, and you have the right people doing the right things. With the innovation that you're not doing, you have a growing risk of a shadow IT environment, or a citizen developer growing within your environment. They're going to be using the latest and greatest tools that other AI startups build, but they're going to have under the desk servers that run these tools outside of the umbrella of the IT or OT team, right? So it is a huge risk of cyber, and cyber will always remain the number one topic that leadership talks about. Even when you have, the sustainability conversations, we have the AI conversations. Security remains the number one thing all leaders talk about when it comes to technology. The other lens of that is how are we measuring that success on growing. I don't want to call it measuring success. Um, Looking from a more human perspective, and if you want to look at the Hollywood and media and writers and authors, the creative brains of our world today, for I think a century, people have been afraid of technology, right? They're afraid of change. You had Metropolis and the Midas Plague written in the 20s and 50s about factories that are self-replicating without human control. You look at Wall-E, The Matrix, Skynet from Terminator. Everyone is afraid of unchecked autonomy, right? So one of the things we need to make sure is we're just not making everything automatic or autonomous for the sake of it. We have to figure out what we're doing and why we're doing it. We have to have autonomy with a purpose, right?
Right.
So when it comes to cybersecurity, you're not just putting in technology and then worrying about security. We are automating this for a purpose. What is this purpose that we're doing? The risk there is bringing humans out of the loop. So it's not just a cyber risk, it's removing human creativity from this environment. That is the greatest risk, I think.
Yeah, it's with the Jaguar Land Rover situation is, of course, it's a supply chain. And at the moment, the UK government are talking about having to step in and actually support the other companies within the supply chain, because they rely on Jaguar Land Rover buying stuff, and it's that whole ecosystem of the supply chain, and the supply chain may actually go down.
Yeah, I mean, at some point we need to step up and say, why is blockchain not a technology we're using in the logistic value chain? But
Yep,
it's a conversation we'll have when it comes.
yep.
Still a bit expensive to implement that kind of tech, but yeah, when things like happen like this, and you get global economies are impacted by simple logistics error or a simple cyber hack, governments have to step in sometimes, and that's actually the role of governments. Now, the overreach and the bailouts, that's a political discussion. Not going to get into that, but we need to make sure that our operations stay up and running, and we need to plan for it. We need to design cyber as part of our model infrastructure when we build in this new technology and we bring in new infrastructure. But I don't think we're really doing that really well on a global scale.
So, if I wanted to set up a dark factory, where would I start? What would be describe to me a practical roadmap?
Well, it's going to be at least 2050. It's not going
Okay.
to happen today. I joke because you see a lot of dark factories popping up today on the internet. In my mind, the true dark factory is fully autonomous. There's no humans. What we're seeing today are what I like to call automated factories, or hands-off, eyes-on, either dim or partial dark sites with different sections of them, right? Being automated, not fully. So if you want to set up a true autonomous dark factor, or even a partial one, what you want to do is design for full autonomy, and then don't bring in anything that's going to require risking humans and their safety within that environment. And when I say
Right.
risking humans, is the best way to avoid injuries on site is to move that human out of that shop floor. Have
Right.
the human in
Yep.
positions where they're making decisions. They're doing maintenance. They're thinking about how to build and how to grow, and how the plant needs to work. So a lot of robots, a lot of AI. Make sure your infrastructure is there, and then you have to worry about the full tech stack.
And what do you see in terms of dark factories contributing to sustainability goals, reducing waste, energy, and emissions, etc.?
Um, Sustainability is part of the Industry 5.0 characteristics, if you will, right? So when I talked about Gen AI and customization of craftsmanship, supply chain resilience, all of these things are 5.0 technologies, which are human centric. Sustainability is not a is not a technology per se, but to track your carbon footprint within your manufacturing environment. It's a very data heavy value chain, right? Yeah, you have to build a digital thread across your entire value chain to understand how your carbon footprint is being tracked and traced, and if you're compliant with ESG goals. We have global leaders in 2021 commit to a 30% reduction of a global carbon footprint by 2030, right? And then commitments on a national level in, I think it was 4 or 5 countries between like China, Australia, US, UK, to have a net zero emission by 2050, 2060, 2070. So these are things still happening. And regardless of what kind of political change happens, companies and corporations have committed to those goals. As humanity, we've all committed to looking at the environment.
Yep.
And so we are building technologies that are green. We are not just looking to use random power. Most new facilities have solar. They have wind turbines. They make sure that their robots are energy efficient. So the end goal is it's kind of a global net zero index where people compete to be on that, top 100 people to reach net zero and negative carbon footprint and plant 100 trees for every cup of water used. So there is a conversation happening there. It is there. The role of dark factories is making sure that we don't lose sight of that, and sustainability is a part of the model infrastructure that we are building in this new era.
Excellent. Ryan Hamze, thank you so much for coming on and talking about dark factories. As I say, I learned so much today. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn, again, easiest way to communicate with me. I have all my links for there and the articles I've written and research. My name is Ryan Hamze. Again, thanks so much for having me. It was really
You're
fun having
welcome.
this conversation.
Hey, we all like learning stuff here. So you coming on and telling us something new is fantastic, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise with us.
Sure thing.